and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of the streaming platforms, public access channels, the Kitty Rose lifestyle, or the program underwriters.
Tim's on my feet, stomping out the negativity. Everybody not a friend of me. Spread the love, still I move deliberately. Girly face on, but the smile be heavenly. Brooklyn girls, so they love the energy. Love sincerity, so I take the liberty to take them on a journey lyrically. Through hallways and
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the next chapter where we discuss Shades of Grey. I am your host, Minister Cat, aka Kitty Rose, and we are joined once again for the third time in our second show for the third season. Quinelle's check-ins, everyone. Yay! Welcome back,
Thank
Quinelle.
you.
I'm so
Thank
excited.
you.
This is a great topic that you're joining us on today.
Yeah.
The topic of the week is, drum roll please. Woo. Y'all ready? Parenting adult children. Now, all you guys know, I got about 3 babies, 4 with my godson, 28, 25, and I'm refusing to admit, but my baby will be my baby will be 20 on Friday.
Oh, wow.
And this is Tuesday, and she's like, I'm already 20. And I'm like, this topic is going to be great for you because I haven't learned the transition, because I haven't called her an adult. She was like, well, what am I, a teenager? I'm not a teenager at 20.
Nope.
I'm a adult. I was like, well, you're a young adult. She was like, no, I'm an adult. So before we actually get into the topic of the week, I just want to say to everyone, happy fall. Happy fall has finally begun.
Yeah.
We are in October. We're getting ready for all of the fall festivities that happen in October. My cousin says she wants to do a costume party.
Oh,
I
that'd
hope
be
that
cute.
means not Halloween. But anyway, so
That would be cute, but then there's apple picking, there's the pumpkin picking. This is a good time.
So I'm excited, and I love sweater weather.
Yeah.
Sweater
I'm
weather.
not a fan, so I won't talk too much.
Sweater weather, sweater weather. I love it. So welcome fall. But yes, this week's topic of the week is parenting adult children. And I knew that this was a topic that's very close to my heart. Which is why I wanted to talk about it, because I am going through that phase now where not only is the verbiage about parenting your adult children, but it's also how you, I guess, identify what those changes in that transition looks like. And because I think we don't kind of have those conversations unless we have the trial baby, which is the first baby, the trial and error. So everything we do, we learn through the first baby, and hopefully we get it, and then the other kids get to enjoy and reap the benefits. But the first kid hated us, and we hated them. You know what I'm saying? And I noticed that I had to start making that transition as early as like 16, 17. And it was difficult with the first one because at 16, 17, I'm still talking to him like he's 12 or 13.
Right.
And that's where the friction was coming. So now that he's 28, that's a different realm that we're going in. And it's a different realm that we're also going in with my 25-year-old who's now dating someone that I don't particularly care for, you know what I'm saying? And she's a lovely girl, FYI. You know what I'm saying? She's a lovely woman. I like you, Diva. Don't get it wrong. However, you know, I have my own choice. And that's also what comes in. Does my choice even matter? No, it does not.
Unfortunately, it
And
doesn't.
nor should it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, all I'm supposed to do is love them or love him.
And
But
guys.
that's interesting. And then my baby's 20, and you know she's really quite independent. But in my head, that's still my baby. So, you know, I knew that this was a conversation I needed to have. You know what I'm saying? And then since this was our regular timing for Quinelle's check-in, how I deal, because you live in the building with your parents. You don't live with them anymore,
Right.
but you're in the same building. I don't know what that looks like. And you're about to be 30 or
Go up.
Really?
Go up.
So you're over your 30s.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So how does that look like? Does mom just come over? Does she have the keys to the house? Like, does she just pop up? Does she care about who you're dating? Like, let's get into it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So before we get into it, I do have one video I just want to introduce to you guys, and then when we come back to the video, we'll kind of chop it up. So let's go to that first video that I was able to pull.
Good morning, everybody. Well, we have heard a lot about the terrible twos and the troublesome teens, but rarely do we discuss the issues that come up as our children enter adulthood. From dating to marriages to jobs to finances to buying homes, it can be a trying time for young adults and a really trying time for their parents.
They're the questions that 65 million Americans with adult children often find themselves asking. Should I lend my 24-year-old money? Is it okay for my 27-year-old to move back home? How do I tell my 30-year-old I disapprove of their significant other? Those issues and more are tackled in Dr. Larry Steinberg's new book, You and Your Adult Child: How to Grow Together in Challenging Times.
How to grow together in challenging times. Okay, let's get into it. So when these questions were being posed in regards to, lending money to your children, if they wanted to move back in, if you don't like their significant other or marriage, I kind of was thinking more about like the dating scene or the dating components of when they're early stages of dating, having my input. Because I definitely had my input when my oldest son was dating his lady that he's been with now 5 years. I definitely had input with my son in his current relationship at 25, who he's been with for 3 years. And I definitely got input in my daughter's relationship. But I love her boyfriend, so it worked. And I've grown to love my oldest son's girlfriend because, again, she has definitely held him down. But I know for me, it's been challenging because I am an opinionated person in general. So as a mother, there was another part of that video that was like, learn how to be quiet. And I'm like, what? What? Learn how to be quiet? Get the fuck out of here. Like, that don't make sense to me. It don't, because you have these different stages that they go through. And yes, again, we talk about the terrible two, we talk about teens, but I realized the transition when COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I stayed down south at my oldest son's home. And I stayed at his home as a guest. I could not come to his home that he shared with his lady and be like, oh, move this, y'all do this, y'all, what time is dinner?
Correct.
No, I had to shut up. But it was so humbling and it was so beautiful because I got to really see my son be a man. And then what was also good, it was nice to see that the seeds I had planted actually did something. Like, no matter what I have an opinion on, I got to see that what I taught him and who he was as a man was something that I could be like, good job, Kat. All right. So I done talked a good 5 minutes already in the show. What are your thoughts as a young adult?
Yeah. It's interesting because watching the video, my first thought was really about reprimanding and consequences. When we start talking about adults and adult children or parents and adult children, because it's one thing to reprimand or consequence your 13-year-old, your 12-year-old, right? But it's another thing to try to consequence a grown person. And so I wanted to talk about that today. Let me know if I'm going straight into that or not.
Go ahead, that was the video talking about money, dating, marriage. It just challenges. and I don't know, is that a good word?
Yeah.
I don't think it's challenges. What if it's just learning to adapt to new transition? Because it doesn't have to be challenging. I don't think it has to be.
I think a different word is adjustment.
Yes.
Right? And I think people put challenging on it because it's inclusive of what adjustments come with. Adjustments do come with a little bit of challenges. It's a learning curve. You're not used to it. And anything that we're not used to, there's a little bit of resistance and rejection because naturally our minds just want to do what we have been doing routinely. Whatever the habit is, we want to do that. And that goes back to how do we parent an adult child versus a 13-year-old, right? And so when I am seeing a lot of clients, I do individual work and I do couples work as well. And we tend to go back and talk about, well, how did you get reprimanded? Because a lot of times the way that people are reprimanded as children, they start to reprimand their partner that way when there is a problem.
Ooh, y'all need to put the camera on me. Ooh, y'all need to put the camera on me. On the me. She said, when discipline or tell it. Ooh. Okay, continue.
So, yeah, and so the difference that, that people need to really, really be mindful of, people meaning parents, when you are a parent of a 13-year-old, you tend to give consequences.
Well, no, get into straight adult.
Into
yeah,
adult?
we not doing what we learned back
Before?
then. Yes.
All right.
No, we are at adult children.
All right. I don't want to shine the light on the people.
20 and up.
All right, no problem. So 20s and up, I want you to stop doing certain things, right? 20s and up, I need you to stop with the guilt trip. Ooh. The guilt trip sounds like, well, I wouldn't have done that to you, or you should know better than that. Why would you do that like that? You don't love your mom. You don't love your dad. You don't call your dad. What's your problem? You know better than that. Please stop. Please stop.
Wait, I know you don't get that living in the same building with your
you
parents.
think I'm speaking from personal experience? Am I? All right, a little bit. But everything that I'm talking about is from a clinical point of view because it has an effect on your relationship. And so that's what I'm talking about. But I get a little bit of that.
And that is the point of Quinelle's check-ins, so that she can give us the clinical point of view. Because I'm going to give you the straight emotional. I'm going to be like, wait, but what you mean? That doesn't feel right. This is how it feels to do. So I forgot that I bring her in. So she's not talking about her life. She's talking about what she's learned through her clients and research. Yes, I stand corrected. So she said to stop. Okay, so let me think. I don't think that I do the guilt trip thing, but I do, I have said, call your mother. I could be dead in the house and you didn't check on me. Do you not care? So yes,
that's guilt trip.
I've done that. See? But the beauty in it is that they call me on a regular basis. So it worked for me. And then the funny thing about it is that when I started to give them some space, my daughter now is on some, you can call me some more.
Yeah.
Like you can call me more often. But I think it's a matter of communicating and not, well, did you do this? Well, did you do that?
Yeah.
Did you do this?
Right. Well, that's my next point, right? There's something about nagging, like constantly talking to your child, constantly saying, hey, did you do this? And not just, hey, did you do this? But you got to be careful about the tone. You also have to be careful about the way that you...
I got to be careful.
Yeah. You see, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that she asked me, do I have to be careful? Did you hear the tone? It was almost like, excuse me,
It was, excuse me, I have to be careful.
Me.
I have to change my tone.
You are now talking to an adult.
But wait.
Yes.
You're still my child.
Yeah, but you're still talking to an adult, right? And the reason for this
Did y'all get the
Yeah, you have to be mindful.
Okay.
Yes, you're still talking to your child, and yes, you still give them guidance. But if you think about anybody's approach, when somebody is constantly saying certain things to you in a certain way, at a certain point, you start to tune them out because then you start to be like, this person always has something to say about me.
I will agree to that, yes.
It comes across as criticism and critical. And if you think about the life stage, think about the life stage that we're at. We are talking about an adult who is likely, let's give you 40s to 60s, right? And then we're talking about a child who is 20s to maybe 30s. And really, the mind is not really developed until 2027. So now you're talking about watching children who, yes, they have responsibility, and yes, they're adults, but they are going into this transition, as we're calling it, with not the same wisdom and experience as the parents. And the wisdom and experience brings you a certain level of caution, brings you a certain level of routine, and I think, if you could call it tunnel vision, sometimes that you might not have as a 20-year-old, or at least about the same things, right? If we're talking about parents, you might be having tunnel vision when you're talking about, okay, well, how am I going to enjoy life at this stage? The 20 to 27, 40, we're having the same conversation, but career is inside of that. So there's different things that people are tuned into. And so as a parent, you might be looking at your child and saying, well, you know better than to do X while Z is happening. Okay, so you know that you had to go to work at, you had to go to work at 8 a.m., right? So why would you stay out until 5 a.m.? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, as a 40 to 60-year-old, you know that your body works differently, right? And you just need to make different decisions. But the 20-something to the 30-something-year-old, we're still trying to have fun. It's a completely different phase. And so as a parent, you have to watch your approach. You have to watch your approach. You want to make sure that you're not nagging. And nagging really just means you say the same thing, even if you think, oh, but I didn't say the exact same words. I didn't say it in the same tone. All you're doing is trying to find a nicer way to say what you have to say. So just give it time, give it space. Your child is going to come to you when they absolutely need you.
Well, on that note, let's take a break.
Hey, boss. Okay.
I said I'm fine.
Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
Welcome back to the next chapter. Woo, she had a lot to say, didn't she? She had a lot to say, but I can agree. I will say that I agree with what she had to say, and I have taken those things in consideration. And I believe that I've taken those things into consideration because, once again, of the trial and the error of the first child. And the first child allowing me to kind of understand what didn't work. And what did work, that I was able to kind of trickle down to the rest of the other two children. But it kind of was sad because he kind of had to get like the bulk of everything bad.
Yeah.
And that can cause resentment in your adult children because when they start now seeing that you treat the 20-year-old different than when they were 20, it causes a little rift.
Yeah.
And then also what I've noticed is not the rift, but the undertone jealousy. You know what I'm saying? The undertone jealousy that consciously you don't want to have, but you're lightweight, like, why do she get it or why do they get it better and I had it so worse? And I wanted to apologize for all the firstborn children out there because it is that learning curve, and that's why I want to have more dialogues like this because, again, like that first video showed, these are conversations that we're not talking about. That's why we as parents are fucking up because we don't know how to talk to you because in our mind, yes, you still are our children. And the funny thing is, we get annoyed when our grown parents tell us, I'm 49 years old, and I will get, well, you shouldn't talk to your child that way. And I'm like, wait, what now? So I know that we don't want our adult parents talking to us or telling us what to do or criticizing or input that feels like criticism.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I do think, just like in all relationships, the basic of communication is the tone.
Yep.
Because our delivery can be, not our delivery, our intention can be one from love, but our delivery is so harsh and so controlling, and because I know comes in the sentence, then it doesn't get received because the delivery doesn't work. So I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, even something as simple as not just I know, but even when you start a sentence saying why, right? Why are you doing this like this? Don't you know that it's the tone, but be very, very mindful of starting a sentence with why, because it could come across as critical. It puts people's alarms up because then it feels like you're just pointing a big finger at somebody and saying, I know better and your way is not good. So
But I do know better. And your way is not good. So I do know better, and your way is not good.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, right? We're talking about being at different stages in your life cycle. So yes, you do know better. You do have some more wisdom, But at the same time, you want to give your child room to make the mistakes and learn. You only learned because you went through it. Well, most of lessons, they come from getting your hand burned a little bit, right? And so those things that are going to stick with you the most is because you had to go through the experience. So you have to give your child room to live their life as long as they are not in any imminent danger, meaning like nothing is going to happen to them anytime soon. They're not in harm's way, you don't need to worry about them. I think a lot of times parents will jump in because it's like, well, I'm gonna be indirectly affected because I'm watching you do X, Y, Z, and this is gonna come back on me somehow.
Right.
And you just have to have patience and grace and remember, like, yes, you know better, you have a better way, but maybe your way is better for you because you have all of the knowledge that you have, and your child is just doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they have.
Okay, so what were your thoughts on like the money thing? Because I currently, so my 20-year-old and my 25-year-old, I currently pay the cell phone bill. And my partner said, they too old for you to be paying a cell phone bill. Why are you still paying a cell phone bill? And my response is, to be honest with you, that's the only thing that they ask me for. You know what I'm saying? They take care of all of their bills on their own, all of their debt on their own, all of their trips, everything that they want to do outside their life, they take care on their own. So if that's the only thing while both of them are still getting and paying for their education, that's the least I feel I can contribute to them. But my girlfriend said, that's so you can still have some control. Because then you could be like, I'm going to turn off your cell phone. You know what I'm saying? And I haven't done that. You know what I'm saying? But, well, I did, but I haven't done it lately, you know, right?
I want them on the show. I need them to confirm or deny, or just text us real quick.
But I'm noticing that what I do like is that they will lend money between each other.
Yeah.
And I love that concept, even though my oldest son owes my daughter some money right now. You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad that they're not necessarily coming to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I am in a position finally where I can help, but I'm always thinking about what is that going to look like in their 30s when they want to now buy their first house and they might need help with their mortgage, like, or when they come back home, if they come back home. Before we go to our next video, none of my children live with me. My daughter is obviously still with me because she's in college, but she lives in Philly the majority of the year, being a full-time college student. But the funny thing I notice is that, you know, I'm a little sad that they don't live with me, that my middle son went to live in Harlem, my oldest son down south, and I'm like, why does no one want to live with me? And me and your parents, we have the same size apartment, so we have the space, right? But my boyfriend says, well, one, they can't have sex in your house. So, duh.
They can walk in when they want to. They can't eat it. They could walk in whatever time without you commenting. They're going to the fridge to get something to eat the next day. And, so what was you? I heard some noise. They could do that? Oh, okay.
Wait, I think they can. I think they can. But whatever they can or cannot do, they've all decided to be independent and live on their own, pay their own rent, got their own lease, and I'm very proud of that. But there is those times and moments where where adult children might have to come back home. So when they brought that up, like, did your brother come back home and get his own place too, or is he home with the parents?
No, so my brother has his own place.
Okay.
I have my own place. All the kids, once we left, we stayed out. And that is something that I thought was an interesting point to bring up, because the census says that 1 in 3 adult children live at home still.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
And no shade, but I think that's a white people thing. Because
I shouldn't laugh at that.
No, but I do. I think because I don't know a lot of black adult children that do go back home.
So I was gonna get into that. I think that because that census was, I seen the year in 2021, right? So to me, I think that might be inclusive of more Black and Latino children or adult children. But I'm saying that to say that the longer you let a child stay, it allows them the advantage to get their money together, to save, to make certain decisions that now they can stay away longer.
Or is it a catch-22 that the longer you let them stay, the comfortable they become and not wanting to leave? Because upstairs in the control room, we got a 28-year-old who still lives at home. I know. So is he at home because he's saving, or is he at home because he had to? And he's not white, at least I don't think. You know what I'm saying? So that might knock out my stereotype in thinking that it's a white people thing, where it's a maybe a parent who's being more mindful of not necessarily rushing the adult child out and giving them that grace and that time to kind of put their finances. But when that happens, before we go to our next video, do we now set boundaries? Do we say do we set a time limit? Do we say, okay, you got 5 years, okay, by the time you 30, like, how does that now begin to work when they are still at home? Do we just be like, okay, you're gonna be home and change my Pampers?
Yeah, no, you have to set boundaries, but also we don't want to generalize. We have to also take into account cultural, right? So, well, cultural standards. So it might be okay for, let's say, a Caribbean person to say, or Haitian, that's the first person that I'm thinking of, right? There are a lot of women who do stay home until they get married, right? So if we're, you know, if we're talking about certain cultures, we have to take that into account.
Yes, very good point.
Yeah.
That is very true. I did not take that into consideration. Let's go to our next break.
First human beings we meet once we arrive in this world, and they are the most important guidance we have in life. Everything we ever become later in life is pretty much built on the foundation made by our parents. Parenting is a complicated endeavor and a big responsibility, and while no parent is perfect in carrying out their responsibilities, generally, they all strive to be good. With that in mind, there are certain things that great parents do differently. Let's find out what some of these things are.
So I want to break that video up into the intro that I showed you and then come back to something else I found interesting in the video rather than giving you guys all 18 topics. But if you want to look them up, it's 18 Things Great Parents Do Differently by BRAINY Dose, and I got the video on YouTube. Very interesting parenting tools from the beginning to adults. So I kind of would love for you guys to take a look at that. But what I find interesting about that intro was, again, that I do believe that we are all trying to do the best that we can, which is why, again, conversations like this are necessary, because we don't want to fight with our children, no matter what age that they are. You know, we do want to respect boundaries. We do want to understand that they are coming into a different phase and will be coming into different phases. And we generally do want to have these relationships with our adult children. You see, even me, I'm being mindful not to call these babies children and babies and kids, you know. So obviously changing our dialect, you know, our verbiage, so that we can make the adjustment up here. Because if we can't make the adjustment up here first, all of this just sounds like want, because we're the parents. We know best. And we don't. Not in this phase. You know what I'm saying?
And not for them in their lives.
Amen. You know, amen. So let's go to that second half of the video and then come back.
Great parents don't try to impose unrealistic and unsuitable expectations on their children. They encourage their kids to always follow their hearts, even if it makes little or no sense to others. Good parents constantly remind their children that each and every one of us is meant to walk on a unique path in life, and that only by walking on their own path will they always remember who they really are, where they come from, and where they're going. Number 18, they practice self-care. Great parents understand that prioritizing self-care is a huge protective factor when it comes to raising healthy children. Parents who appropriately manage their own stress will in turn be more relaxed and thoughtful as parents, while at the same time teaching their children how to regulate their own emotions in a healthy way. Parenting is a journey that takes plenty of patience and understanding. Some parents follow textbook parenting techniques. Others rely on their instincts to make decisions and handle the behavior of their kids. While much of the parenting journey varies depending on the children's actions, cultivating these qualities can certainly go a long way.
Wow. I can definitely agree with those things, because my 15 minutes helps balance me out so that I'm at a peaceful place when interacting with all three of my children at the same time. So self-care, you know, keeping my mind right, keeping myself at a place of peace, even helps me get the information I need to be able to parent better, because then I'm able to receive without my own but wait interjection. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that about stress. I think that what we don't give enough credit to is how sneaky stress can be. And we don't even have to know that we're stressed. Sometimes we think that stress is only recognizable exactly when it hits us, when it kind of hits the fan. But you need to take time every day to make sure that you're doing that self-care, so that you're not moving from a place of criticism like we were talking about earlier, but also moving from a place of impulsivity. So stress will have you moving and being reactive and saying things that you don't really mean to say, and then you calm down, you're like, wow, I didn't mean to say that. Like, I shouldn't have said that. So it is absolutely necessary to get your stress relief and get your self-care. And the other thing that they said in the video,
Please.
Another thing they said in the video was to make sure that you parent your child based off of how your child's actions are. And you were asking me earlier, what do you do? Do you set boundaries? And I say, yes, you set boundaries, but you also have check-ins with your child. If you think about you all both moving day to day, now you all are two adults. You have work going on, you have work stress, you have life, you have relationships, all of these stresses that are happening outside of the home. If you don't check in with your child and make sure, like, hey, can we have a time to sit and talk about this? Again, what I just did, if you are mindful of that, is very much a calm approach, right? You want to make sure that you're not on 10 when you're approaching your child, because you don't want to come across as critical or like, I'm the parent, you live in my house, you still have to do things my way. So you just want to be mindful of your approach. But the check-ins to say, like, hey, what's going on with you? You can talk about what's going on with yourself, but that is how you get to have those discussions around, like, so when do you think that you might want to move? Are you thinking about moving? Or just saying, like, hey, I actually like this space. I've been thinking about doing XYZ with the space. And I think that in maybe 2 years, X amount of years, whatever it is that you want to have your child do, it's a conversation.
What about the money? Do you still borrow money from your parents?
I do not borrow money, but something that's happening now, I think I'm just a little bit more independent. And, you know, when we started the show, you asked me, am I 30? I'm like, go up. I think that, you know, what my parents will do now, and this is, I think, a part of parenting an adult child. Sometimes, and you said you miss your child, I think sometimes your parent still wants to know that they can help.
Okay.
And they still want you to know that they're there, right? So it's one of those
Is that
things.
a personal and clinical opinion?
So that one was actually personal, the second part. They just want you to know that they're there. But I think from a clinical standpoint, all parents want to still be involved. All parents want to still help as much as they can in a way that makes sense to them, that they're willing to do. So that might not mean lend you money, no. But that might mean, you know what, I'm going to cook for you. Or I'm going to call you on the phone and ask you, did you eat today? Or I'm going to remind you of certain things, because parents just want to be involved. That's clinically.
Okay. So when it comes to, let's just say, the money situation for a minute, how do parents who are not necessarily who are co-parents but don't live together, and then their significant other has an opinion on, well, why are you still doing this for your adult children? Or, you know, or like my significant other, his daughter's 36, you know, she's damn near a grown woman. So well, no, I'm sorry.
She's grown.
She's a grown.
Your kids are never going to be grown. I'm so sorry, kids. I'm so sorry.
She's a grown woman. I know. I'm working on myself. No, but like I said, this was for me because I know that I'm still in this next chapter and I'm still so fresh as a newly empty nester. So I don't want to mess up because I do enjoy the relationship I'm building with my adult children. I don't want to go backwards. I just want to continue to grow and be a better parent. And you're absolutely right. I do come from a place of still wanting them to know I'm there. But I think some of us come from a place of wanting still to have a level of control.
Yes.
And that's something that we have to kind of step away from. You know what I'm saying? And I think that letting go that level of control, that level of control is difficult. Because we've been in control since day one for damn near at least 17 years. Even if they're still living in our house, thinking, and we're thinking that they're doing one thing and they're doing something else, there's still what we think is going on in our head, control. So for us not to have control in their decision making, like they don't even have to ask you. You know, my daughter just left the country, excuse me. She's 20 and she just left the country with her boyfriend. But she ain't asked me for a dime, so I can't say nothing. But I'm also like, well, did you ask? And what time of the year is this going? And she's like, excuse me.
You know, something about that I want to ask you and not assume, because you know, you brought that up. What is the worst thing that could happen if you relinquish that control? In your mind, why are you holding so tight?
I don't know if it's even consciously. Because what my oldest son said to me, which was, woo, light bulb, trust what you have taught us. And I don't know if we've learned as parents to do that. So I don't know if it's a control thing or we just have not learned that we did a good job or that we've done our job and now you're done. And now it's a different type of parenting. Not that I'm about to be no buddy best friends, because I'm still not your peer. But I do find that the transition is, like, I'm able to have conversations with my 28-year-old, because now we're talking about investing and we're talking about financial responsibility for our future. You know, so those conversations aren't the same as, well, do you have $5 in your savings? It's more like, okay, this is the next step. And now we're having different conversations about insurance. That wasn't had to me. When my mother gave me my life insurance at 18, I kept it for like a year, but I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't think that keeping life insurance would have secured my freaking adult life and helped in some other things and that I was going through. And now at 47 or 48, when I started my life insurance plan, and now I have my financial advisor telling me, well, you know, you could have done this and you know you can do this. I'm like, wait, what? This is what insurance is for? So now at 19, 25, and 27, we're having the conversation and starting up their mutual funds and their, you know, other types of things that wasn't taught to me, that now, again, I understand it's not about telling them you should do this, but now just bringing that new content of adult realization to their life of what's going on or what they can expect or what they should maybe incorporate or just think about, because they may not still do it until they're 30 or 40.
It's a conversation, right?
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing about this. But to go back to what I was asking you, what is the worst thing that can happen if you relinquish control? Many times I will see that it's multifold, it's multifaceted. It is the safety that you're concerned about your child. But then the other thing is you want to have a level of closeness with your child. You want to be able to call them on the phone and get them on the phone. You want to be able to call them and ask them. Some of this is not just closeness. Some of this is like, I actually need you now. I won't say it, right? I won't say it, but I need you.
Well, no, yes, because Rose just told me that. Because a part of me was kind of like, I'm not really a phone person because my business is talk. So I'm tired of talking when I get home. So now that everyone's kind of like out the house, I'm thinking, all right, you know, I do the text and I do the once a week call or whatever have you. And I'm like, okay, that's enough, you know. And she told me just last week, she was like, you could call me some more. No, not last week, a month ago. She was like, you could call me some more. And I was like, really? And say what? I don't have anything to talk about. She was like, just check it. And I swear our conversations have been beautiful.
Different.
And what she said to me, she was like, I'm liking this. I'm liking this check-in.
But you know that happened because you gave her space. So as hard as it is for you to do that, and you know, the emotions that came up for you when you were thinking about relinquishing the control, that is what the self-care is for. That's what the distance is for, because you go through all those emotions alone. They don't have to see it. And you can say, like, you know, this is really hard for me. I think there are certain things that you can just be vulnerable with your children about, and that's part of the discussion, so that they understand. If you are still sounding controlling, then they understand what this transition is like for you. But if you have friends, this is really a really, really big part of being the parent. If you have friends, if you don't have a social group, then you are going to struggle, because your life can no longer be tied to your adult children. They have their own lives. So now when I say stay in your lane, I mean this with love. I mean this with love. Stay in your lane. If you're like, I don't have any friends, or I'm tired of talking to the same people, or where do I go? There are churches that you can go to and you can make friends and you can volunteer.
You're right.
There are actual places, other places that you can volunteer. Just think about a hobby that you might have, or if you're like, I don't have any hobbies, I just watch TV. Sometimes you just have to Google and see, all right, what's going on in my neighborhood that I might be even slightly interested in. You can start at your building. Sometimes you talk to your neighbors and you figure out what's going on. You can start by joining a committee in your building. But the biggest thing is branching out and figuring out what your life is now going to look like, because being an empty nester and calling your kids up because you miss them and you need them is sweet. But then at a certain point in time, you're not going to get your children on the phone.
Wow.
And if that turns into, well, you don't call your mom, you don't call your dad, it's nice initially, right? But then again, it starts to sound like wah, 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 wah. Or if it turns into, well, I noticed now we're in the social media age, right? So now if you are Facebook stalking or IG stalking your child and this is the commentary that you're giving them, I see you did X, Y, Z. Oh, so I wouldn't have worn that. Right? Things that, this is why parents get blocked. And now I'm talking.
Girl, I was just getting ready to say, because you know I follow all my kids online.
And now I'm talking personally, okay? Now I'm talking personally. I don't block my parents, but I'm just saying.
And my children have not blocked me.
Yeah.
But they will be mindful about what they post on the platform that I follow. They might have a different page.
Right, but we all do that. I mean, you will understand if you think about your job and what you post when you think about your job is watching, right? So it's not necessarily personal. It's just there are some things that you want to keep to yourself, which going back to Kat's point earlier, that's why you want to have your own space. You want to move out because there are certain things that as an adult, even though we're going to put child at the end, as an adult child, you want to do by yourself.
And the funniest thing is that video that I also played about the first one where we did Marie Shriver from NBC, that, by the way, that was the NBC Today show that I got that video from. There was a part of the video that there was actually a mother and son, and the son moves back home. And there was a part of the conversation where they were telling the mom, like, just don't say anything. And I'm like, how do you not say anything when your adult child still lives at your home or had to come back? So again, I really think it goes back to, again, just communication and how we communicate. Because I don't think we as parents can really be silent. They were an Asian family. So that was interesting because, again, I don't know if that's the cultural thing. But I don't know a lot of Black parents who can be silent. You know what I'm saying? So I think it does matter how we learn how to change our tone with speaking to our adult children, because yes, they are now adults, and the same respect that we ask for, we now have to give. And I think that that's also what becomes hard about acknowledging and accepting that they're adults and they are going to make their own decisions. And I think when it comes to like their mate or how they spend their money or what jobs they take or where they live, they're still just needing us just to kind of be now maybe a sounding board. On that note, let's take another break.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you'll go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
Wow. I mean, there's nothing left to talk about. We might as well go right to our Jesus moment because, girl, woo, Jesus. What is your takeaway? What is your Jesus moment for the parents out there?
Yeah, if you don't remember anything else, just please give your children grace and then stay in your lane. And I mean that with love. That means just go find something else that brings you joy and comfort, but also stress relief, because your children might stress you because, yes, you do know better. You have more experience, more years on them, but you absolutely want to give them their own space to learn. And then they'll come to you when the time is right. They will ask you for help. And if they ask you for help and you're not sure, like, okay, do I jump in real quick to give my advice? Just put your phone on mute. Please let them get out all the things. And you probably will be pleasantly surprised that you as a sounding board will hear their thought process and you will find that they'll come to a solution. And if you're too quiet, if you're worried about being too quiet, they'll say, hello, what do you think? So just try the mute first.
Wow, that makes sense,
Yeah.
and I think that that's a great takeaway and a great tool. After I give my Jesus moment, you know we're going to give you her website again so that you can contact Quinelle for her clinical advice this way. So my Jesus moment, because remember, I got to take you back to the scriptures. So my Jesus moment was looking back at Proverbs like we did last week. Proverbs is such an encouragement chapter in the Bible because it's all about encouragement. It's not about this is what you do. It's kind of just giving you words that work. So if we go to Proverbs 22:6, it says to train up a child in the way he or she should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. So what you said about hello, are you there? You know, yes, if they want your opinion or they want feedback, they'll ask for it. And how I noticed to be true, my testimony is my daughter's friends will be like, oh, I need to pray. Can we call your mother? And they will call me. Isha will call me and be like, all right, Carla's on the phone. You know what she needs.
Yeah.
So I do agree when they want you because of the way that you train them, because it doesn't even start as adults.
No.
It's still that beginning part, because even Ephesians, I'm going to give you Ephesians chapter 6, 1-4. It talks about children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with you and that you may live long in the land. But this is the interesting part that the scriptures tell you. Fathers and mothers, do not provide your children, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. So when I looked at that, you know, if that's not our intention, then we have to take accountability of, again, as we've been saying all through this show, our tone. And the other scripture that I found later on, so we won't see a lower third for that, is also goes back to Proverbs. Proverbs 14:24. It said, whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. And I don't think that means the discipline time out as a child. I think that discipline is still encouragement and loves of guidance that we will still give our children as they become adults or as they are adults in their 30s and their 40s. I know when I was in COVID down south, something happened with my middle son. And he was still in school at Binghamton. So as a mother, I freaking freaked out. And the one time as an adult child, I was in the same town that my biological mother was in. And I couldn't call anyone because I'm in South Carolina, so all of my village is here.
Yeah.
And I called my mother, and even though we don't have a relationship, she came over. And all I did was cry in her arms. At 47, at 47, I still needed mommy. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think we give ourselves credit, but we really are all just big kids still working it out.
Yeah.
So, you know, that crying, those tears that came out, it's because it's the little girl in you. If you think about yourself as a little child, even though you're a parent, that also might help you be a little bit more gracious with your child, right? Because you're still figuring some things out too, and so are they.
What you mean? Don't I know it all? No. But yeah, that's a good point. I am still like this little fragile, you know what I'm saying?
Deep down
And it's crazy because we're gonna say goodbye to you in a minute. But what's really crazy about that, and this is another conversation, is that, you know, we as adult children still need our moms and dads. You know, I yearn for my parents, and they're still alive, and I have no relationship with neither one of them. And that's a hurtful thing because I don't need them to, you know, pay a bill, but it would be great.
Emotional support.
Yeah.
And that's the stage of the life cycle that parents are in now too, right? Just maybe not having your parents there physically or just emotionally. And if you just focus on that, a lot of the times you'll be able to, one, talk to your child differently, but also you'll be able to stay in your lane because you have your own stuff going on.
She keeps saying that, stay in your lane. I don't like that, stay in your lane. So we getting ready to say goodbye, Quinelle. Thank you so much,
you.
Quinelle.
Thank you.
I love Quinelle's check-in. This was our third installment. Where can the good folks find you?
Yes, you can find me at www.counselingtocomfort.com or IG at counselingtocomfort_PLLC.
And she will be back with us next month. So again, go to our Facebook group page if you have any questions for her that you want her to answer on air. But you can also go to her website. You can go to her IG. You can ask her those questions. She's not that famous yet that she will still take your messages. So, you know, she ain't all fancy, but she gonna have a receptionist answering her calls, answering service. So take advantage now.
Get it while it's hot.
Get it while it's hot. You know what I'm saying? So thank you, Quinelle.
Thank you.
And we will see you next month.
All right.
Let's go to our last break of the night, guys.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches? Ready? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You didn't turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, Backpack Kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on.
To the left. To the right. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutVaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
I love me some Quinelle. Yes. All right, guys. So remember, I told you last week that I'm adding a new segment. And the new segment is called Did You Know? Did you know? Do you know? Did you know? And this week's Did You Know is going to be health tips. Health tips are very important for our community to be mindful of. As I am 49, approaching 50, I'm going through different stages of my life. I'm pre-menopausing. Things are happening to my body that I don't understand. But what has helped me along in this process are these 6 health tips that I'm going to give to you guys tonight. And hopefully you can begin to incorporate these things into your life to help you go through whatever transition that you're going through, from teenagers to toddlers to young adults to now premenopausal stage. And who knows what happens after that. So I wanted to give you these tips. So 1, preventive medicine. Finding a primary doctor early, using your network for referrals. If you're, like right now, my daughter, has to change her primary care provider from when she was young because she lives in a different state. So how do you know in a different state where to go to? She has cousins, she has aunties that live in that state that she's in. So I suggested for her, call them up, see who they're going. Because at 19, it is important for you to have your own doctor that can go through these stages with you. Don't think and go to the doctor when it's too late or when you're sick. Preventative medicine is why you pay for your insurance, so that you could take full advantage of things, not when you're sick, but to prevent you getting sick. Number 2, be honest with your practitioner. If you smoke, if you do drugs, whatever you do, be honest, because first of all, they'll know anyway in your test, but they can't help you if you're not honest. So don't get it twisted. My primary doctor, I was having an issue with my cough. My primary doctor said, well, maybe you should stop smoking weed for a minute. So, do I hide that? No. When I go and talk to her about my sexual partners, if I had sex with someone without protection, I have to say that. So be honest with your practitioner, because it's like the lawyer. Whatever you say with them stays with them. Even if you have children, what your children tells their practitioner, do you believe they can't tell you as the parent? So be honest with your practitioner. Number 3, pay attention to your body. Your body will talk to you. My knee was hurting, and it was hurting for 2 months. There was no swelling. There was no, no hotness. But I ended up going to my doctor that gave me a referral and found out that I'm developing arthritis in my knee. But if I didn't pay attention to my body and just dismissed it, I'm just getting older. I was a dancer. I would have missed it and would not have been able to get the physical therapy now that I'm getting, that my insurance is helping to pay for, that I pay into. 4, Google reviews. Nowadays, we can Google everybody. So if you're not sure about a practitioner, or you're not sure about a clinic, or you're not sure about a hospital, Google the reviews, because when people don't like stuff, they will definitely report it. You know what I'm saying? And when people like stuff, they will report it. So if you're uncertain, Google the information so that you can get clarity on where you're going. 5, preventive services. Preventive services like these urgent cares now that they've built up everywhere, where you don't have to go to a hospital, or you don't have to go to your primary. You could go to a city MD or any of these smaller urgent cares that are opening. My boyfriend works for an organization called Relay Services, and those services help people who are going through drug addiction or drug abusers. And what happens is that when you OD, they send these people from Relay to the hospitals and give them Narcan kits, as well as introduce them to the program to see if they're ready to get off drugs. So these are things that get, again, your insurance, because health is just not your medicine or when you're sick. Health is even the self-care, and when addiction is a disease, my friends. Alcoholism, drug addiction, these are diseases that need to be treated. And last but not least, ask questions. Ask questions. Ask questions. You're not going to know what's going on if you don't ask questions. So don't be afraid. What they say, no question is a dumb question. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because you may be surprised at what the answer is. Everything nowadays is in our food, how we eat, our diet, and we are clueless. So if we're clueless and all these things are happening to us, how will we know how to fix them or understand them if we don't ask questions? So that's it. That's our second segment, or our first segment of Do You Know? And I like that. I think this is definitely going to be a new segment that I'm going to be enjoy doing each week. So now you know this time of the show comes to the part that I'm really not a fan of, and that's when I need all of you to follow, like, and share. Follow, like, and share. Yes, because we want to keep this engine going. I told you last week we about to do some more awards this year, because we are now an award-winning show. So I need you guys to give me some feedback, and I need you guys not only to give me some feedback by joining my Facebook group page, but yeah, man, subscribe to my channel, follow, like, and share. Watch me every Saturday night at BronxNet here at 11. And you know I'm at Brick on Mondays and Eminem on Wednesdays. And YouTube all the time. But you're not going to know that unless you follow, like, and share. So yeah, that's it this week. I'm enjoying this ride. I'm enjoying all of you guys that stop me in the street. You are wonderful. Continue to stop me, because in a minute you ain't going to be able to stop me with my security around. No, I'm joking. I'm always going to be for the people, because I am your host, Minister Cat, a.k.a. KittyRose, and this is the next chapter where we discuss shades of gray. Until next time, I see you guys all next week. Be safe and stay focused out there. Peace.
So I take the liberty to take them on a journey lyrically, through hallways and alleys. Dark days I carry, sharp pains and bellies. All days be heavy when you're programmed to survive. Legendary ciphers get the MCs in the jobs. The city never sleeps, slept from 1 to 5 when COVID hit the block and we had to stay inside. Tough love is all I know, so be gentle with my soul. Learn to navigate winters with no coat. If you never been cold, you never been broke. Hustle 24/7 just to stay afloat. So New York, like dollar pizza in that cold world shit. That real life grit from the heart of the city is as hard as it gets. This that New York shit. That real life grit from the heart of the city is as hard as it gets.